Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Woodwoo's headquarters here. Today I've got two accounts from the same area of Scotland, and the first account was sent over to me by Cliff Barrickman of the BRFO in America, and it's in a very beautiful part of Scotland, less than a mile from the Tay estuary and close to the A92 at the Five Roads roundabout. And a gentleman who was driving encountered a strange, hairy, human-type figure, bordered by thick trees and foliage on both sides of the road. A witness was driving home from work and was proceeding down the road he had travelled many times before, and this is his account in his own words. After navigating the Five Roads roundabout, I was driving home southbound on the A92 when my headlights picked out what I thought was a man stepping by the left-hand side of the road. I could see his figure clearly, and as I approached, the figure stepped out in front of the car, and I naturally brought the car to a halt to avoid hitting the individual. This person was a large, hairy, ape-like creature, which turned to look at the car as I approached. Its eyes gave out a shine which was very noticeable, and it crossed the road in about 3 large strides. I felt uneasy, but brought the car to a stop and put the window down. I could hear something crunching away in there, as if something was clearly moving through the forest. I had no torch with me to shine towards the sounds. There was an unpleasant odour in the air, and suddenly I got a feeling I was being watched, as everything went very quiet. Silence all around me. It was very unnerving. I then shockingly just continued home. I didn't even realise I started to drive, and I didn't stop until I reached my home. Thinking back, this individual was well over 7 feet tall and was dark brown in colour. Its hair was of reasonable length. I've never seen this again anywhere in Scotland, and I've only ever confided in my partner up until now. I thought these creatures existed in other areas in the world, but not here. I know unequivocally what I saw, and it's still clear in my mind as if it happened yesterday. There were rumours of sheep and cattle disturbances in the area, but I have heard of no sightings of a large hairy creature, only my own. I worked as a civil servant for many years and experienced some crazy stuff, but I must admit that this was a big surprise. Now I wonder if this gentleman knows that in contacting Cliff Barrickman and bringing this account forward, it actually reached the newspapers in Scotland, and it brought forward another gentleman who was so scared by his encounter 10 years earlier that he'd been struggling with for all that time alone, and it was only on reading the account that he came forward. And his name was Mr. Mark Luke, and this is what Mr. Luke had to say. Mr. Luke, 46, from Edinburgh, broke his silence for the first time after struggling to come to terms with what happened to him over a decade ago. He finally spoke up to his mother about his experience 10 years earlier when he saw a Bigfoot roaming the Fife countryside. After reading about a similar experience in the Courier, Mr. Luke's mother persuaded him to come forward. Mr. Luke decided to speak out after stumbling across an online article on the Courier's website while researching and trying to explain his own encounter. Mr. Luke, who is a carer, said he spotted the tall, hairy, upright figure just off the Tay Road Bridge in 1995 whilst travelling to Dundee to fill in for night shift security. His sighting happened in the same area that a former civil servant from Fife reported seeing a creature at the Five Roads roundabout also. Just like Mr. Luke, the civil servant had also told nobody at the time and only spoke publicly about what happened some 10 years later. Mr. Luke said, I had a similar encounter driving back to Edinburgh from the night shift security in Dundee. It was around 8 AM and I'm on the A92 driving south in the same rough area. I can remember a forested area on both sides of me, and as I look to my left, I see a tall, dark shape standing about 20 feet away from me, in the trees. At first, I thought it was a man, but then it came towards me, and it wasn't a man. He must have been huge, some 8 to 10 feet tall, and really wide, it seemed like. I was so scared and confused, to be honest. I put my foot down and carried on. I was doing 60 miles an hour, and I was not going to look back or stop until he was far behind me. It was dark under the trees, so it was very hard to see into them or to make out any details. I could see shape, but no facial details. I only told my mother after reading the story in the Courier, and she encouraged me to come forward and share what happened. Mr. Luke said, "I'm 90% sure that they are out there. I won't ever be 100% sure until I see a body or somebody captures one. Even seeing it with your own eyes does not make it seem possible. There's too many unexplained things out there." I think Mr. Luke is correct, isn't he? There's very, very many unexplained things. And all we can do is report them and share them in the hopes that one day we'll be able to answer some of his questions and our own. So until next time, thank you very much for joining me. Goodbye.